So ORP, Lucky Dog, July 29th, 30th, 31st. So practice, race day 1, race day 2. So in the lead up to this, we did 2 big changes to the car. And we've talked about these in other videos, but cooling system, and we put our backup motor in. Backup motor doesn't have any performance enhancements that the other motor doesn't. It's all reliability stuff, Vanos delete, upgraded rod bearings. The one big difference between the 2 motors right now is we could not get rod bolts for the 03 up S54 motor. So which uses a 10 millimeter instead of an 11 millimeter rod bolt. So we just had to buy rods. So we got a set of SuperTech rods for that, and put those in, got the motor all built, new chains, new guides, repaired the oil pump pickup. Yeah, that was about it. You know, ARP head studs and a Kinetic gasket. But so got that motor together, got it on the dyno Thursday night before we left for the race, and put down 291, 292, something like that at the wheels. It was really hot. It was over 120 degrees in the dyno cell. So wasn't expecting huge power. That same motor on a cool day has made 305 on our dyno at the wheels. Different chassis. It was when it was still in an E46 M3, but so we knew it was a good motor. So went to ORP early Friday morning and set up our paddocks, got the car out for testing in the morning, and our plan was we want to test in the morning, just shake the car down, make sure we don't have any issues, any surprises, new cooling systems working, and then run it in the afternoon and the heat of the day when it was going to be over 105 degrees, and see how it responds, how well the cooling package worked. And the cooling package entailed 2 Setrabs Series 6 19-row oil coolers in series, 1 in each front corner of the car. So they're completely separate ducting airflow paths from the radiator. And then we replaced the CSF radiator that we had with a custom unit that we designed. And the new radiator is full frame width. It's tipped at about a 30-degree angle, and it's just about full height from our splitter to the hood. It really can't be any taller or wider than it is. And so it ends up being a little over 20% more ambient on the radiator, and then about 20% thicker. It's a 2-row cross-flow radiator. So we got all that stuff in, finished that up Thursday night before we went on the dyno, before we went to the track. And so AM testing went fine, no issues. Cooling system looked great, and everything was good on the car. So we got the rest of the paddock set up, camp set up, all that stuff, and then about 2 or 3 o'clock that afternoon, we went back out to test the car some more. And as a comparison, in Portland, it was 101 degrees, and we were seeing, with our old motor and old cooling system package, we would see, you know, over 220 for coolant temp, and we were getting oil temp alarms in the 240 range. I think that's where that alarm kicks on. And it's not that you can't run it at 240, but that's just atypical, so we want to alert the driver about it. And and we had to pedal the car just to keep it in the 220s and 240 oil temp range. So if we push the car at all, it would easily go to upper 220s. I saw 230 briefly on one of the last laps that I ran at Portland. So we knew what was bad and what we were trying to combat. So we had a good data point there. So with 105, 106 degree ambient air temp at ORP, pushing the car basically as hard as I could. We were running 157 lap times in the hottest part of the day, and we were seeing 198 coolant temp, and 222, 224 oil temps. So that was all really good, encouraging. We're happy to see that. And so we called that good. And then we went down to Moppet, and everybody jumped in the river. And I think it was 112 degrees down there. So started the race out. Greg started us Saturday morning, and so we didn't have qualifying. Basically what they did is they skipped qualifying, started the race at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday, so it was a 7-hour and a 6-hour. It's a little shorter than we usually run, but given the heat, it was actually pretty nice. And we were doing 1-hour driver stints, so Greg started the race. I think we lined up in 4th. There was no set positions. It was just who got to grid first. So we started the race in 4th. Car 103, which is an E36 with I believe it has a carbureted Ford V8 in it. They've been to a lot of the races. We see them all the time. Unfortunately, I don't know any of the guys on the team really, but they're always out there. And they've been, in the past, a few seconds off of a competitive time. And so we've always just kind of, we see them there, but not a car we typically have to worry about. And so Saturday, they led the race. I want to say for 4 or 5 hours. And we were slowly working our way up because as the day got hotter, many of the really competitive cars were slowing down while we were able to maintain our pace with our new cooling package. So we started moving up, and Dave went second, I went third, then Greg, and then Dave, and then me again. And then Greg finished the race off for us, and we ended up winning. It was a good race. No huge surprises. We did get a fuel penalty for spilling fuel in the pits, so that set us back a minute. And we had a new fueler this weekend, Chris, and he did an awesome job. But it's a lot to ask for somebody to come out and fuel a race car that they've never fueled before, and do it without any issues. The big thing was we were safe. There were no incidents. We just burped a little fuel out of the fuel fill during the stop, and somebody was watching, and that's just how it goes. You win some, you lose some. But so other than that, we didn't have any penalties the rest of the weekend, so that was good, and Chris did a great job. And also Henry did fire bottle for us, and he did an awesome job at that. So yeah, we won Saturday, and then we did the post-race checkup on the car, which was basically just bleed the brakes, just because it was hot, but we weren't really using the brakes that hard at the track. So we did that, set air pressure, put the car cover on, and called it a night, and moved back down to the river again. This time it was 114 in Moppet. And so Sunday, I started the race, and luckily got into grid first, so we started in first place. And I think we had the chickens behind us, and then the 103 car behind them. And there was another car, I don't remember the team name or number, but it's a wide body 46. They were there this weekend, and we've seen the car before, but this is the first time we've actually seen it compete in Lucky Dog, and it had a really good pace, and it was kind of intermittent. The car would come and go, and so it wasn't really in contention for podium, but it definitely was a quick car. And I diced it up with those guys for a while, and it was fun. Finally Racing was there, and the number 177 E36 S54 car, and they were really quick. They were having some problems with fuel pickup, and I think, if I remember right, the sock on their fuel pump was clogged, and so they were just having fuel issues all weekend, and so they weren't competitive, but they were running really good lap times. We diced it up for like an hour straight at one point. So it was a bummer. It was a bummer that they weren't in contention, because I think they had a good shot at it. But again, things don't always go to plan. So on my second stint, So this is race hour like 3.5. I'm coming down Valkyrie Hill. We're running the track counterclockwise. Go to make an outside pass on a Miata that's probably a C-class car. Pretty good closing speed. Go around the outside, and he's just coming out to the outside of the track, which isn't. I'm not saying it's his fault, but that's just not where I would have expected him to go if he was holding the racing line. So I keep moving over, and pretty soon I have 2 tires off on the outside, and I'm doing like, I don't know, 85, 95 miles an hour over the crest of this, and he's still coming over. So I've got 2 tires off, squeak past them, and I was like, whew, that was close. And then his nose just barely clips the back of our car. So unfortunately it didn't upset the car. There wasn't any incident, but Lucky Dog's a no contact series. So I popped right into the pits, had the guys hop over the wall as I was coming by in the hot pits, and just had them give it a quick inspect, make sure we didn't have any tire wheel damage, something like that. The car felt fine, but just wanted to make sure. They gave me the thumbs up. I went down to the point, let the guys know that we had some contact. They immediately released us for self-reporting, and we were back out. Unfortunately, we're in second place. So the 103 car is ahead of us, and I think they were about 45 seconds in front. So they weren't far behind to begin with. And so push, trying to get caught up, and we felt like we had the pace to catch them, and we still had 3 hours or 2.5 hours to go in the race. So another car scatters its motor on turn 15, which is really the second turn because we're running counter, and they scatter their motor. We go full course caution. They get safety out there to clean up the oil mess and get the car off the track. And so, but because of this, I'm now stacked up like 5 cars behind the 103, which is in P1, and so we're 8 seconds off of first place. And so, which is good. It's good for us, it's bad for them. And so on the race restart, I had that wide body E46 between us and them, and I knew that's a fast car that could give us trouble, and it might be hard to get around it, even though at this point they're 1 or 2 laps down on us. So this isn't a pass for position, it's just I need to get around them so I can start attacking the P1 car. And so on the restart, this is our home track, so we know it pretty well. We know where all the flags are and stuff like that. So restart, get an awesome restart, pass all of those cars, tuck in behind the P1 car on the front straightaway, go into turn 16, all good, turn 15's fine. Turn 14 is a downhill, left hand off camber turn. It's tricky. I mean, we know it, and I should have known better, but it's one of those, you get caught up in the moment, and I'm trying to get back into P1 on the first lap of the restart, instead of just relaxing and letting the race come back to us. And so come in behind the P1 car in that turn, and back end starts going. Okay, counter steer. It's just not coming back to me, and this is all happening really fast, but this is what's going on in my head. And so, a little more counter steer, and I'm staying in the throttle, and maybe a little too much, and the car goes, and I'm not able to recover it. So we go off the outside of, basically make a right-hand turn instead of a left. We go off into the weeds, jump a berm, and in the past we've had problems with our splitter. We don't have a ton of poke on our splitter, it's about 3.5 inches, so it gives us a good bit of downforce, but it's not this huge shovel on the front of the car. But in the past, what we've had happen is the lip will catch something if you go off, and our car's not super low, but the lip will catch something, and as soon as it does, it just rips the whole splitter off the front. So what we did after the last time that happened is we actually added a set of shock absorbers that they work in tension and hold the lip from going down, so we get all our downforce, but if we have contact on something, the lip can move up. So it's hinged in the back. And a good friend of mine, Dustin Harris, actually gave us that tip. He said, I think he'd seen some Audi Pro cars that used a similar technique. And so we implemented that. And so anyway, I go off-roading, pull back up to the edge of the track. Everything's fine, car didn't stall or anything, but it was a wild ride. Get back to the edge of the track, entire field comes by, I'm checking my mirrors, pull out because I don't want to get a penalty for unsafe re-entry. And you know, I know at this point I'm not trying to get right back onto P1 and get back into first place. I mean, that's just too much is going on. Need to calm down, need to refocus and just make sure the car is okay at this point. So I get back on the track, everything feels okay. I don't hear the splitter dragging. There weren't any, I didn't feel like anything came off of the car in the incident, but just with past history, I was definitely concerned that the front end was damaged from just, you know, catching something and maybe tearing some parts off. So drive back around to the pits. I've radioed the guys at this point, so they're all ready. They hop out across the wall and clean all the dirt off the front for the inlets of the radiators and coolers, and I get the thumbs up that we're okay to go back out. And so I go down to the point, they make sure everything's okay, I pop back out, and I get the radio call that now we're in third place. So we only dropped one position through that. So now we have a E46 wagon with an S54 swap in front of us, which that car was super quick all weekend. Those guys were really fast. Good drivers, great car. They were suffering some mechanical issues, so they hadn't been super competitive because of that, which is a bummer. So they're in front of us. So I know I have two quick cars that are, you know, they're going to be hard to catch. And I finally get the radio call that we're about 90 seconds off of P1 at this point. And I have about 20 minutes left in my drive. So I'm a little nervous to push it super hard, so I'm just getting into like a 159 pace, and it's a couple seconds quicker than those guys. So we're slowly reeling them in, but it's not going to happen in my drive. And so finish out stint, good driver change. Dave gets in, we go back out, and that was a refuel as well. And so then our next driver change is going to be with Greg, driver only, so it's as fast as we can do it. So Dave maintains our position, keeps us within that striking distance of first place. Greg gets in, he puts the hammer down. He's running 157s, and so, you know, we've got a minimum of like 4 or 5 second advantage on both the cars in front of us. He's got an hour to try and reel these guys in, and realistically that's 20 laps. So 5 seconds a lap, 20 laps. It's, you know, we have a shot at we're definitely on the podium if we don't break, and we have a shot at actually getting back into first or second place. So about 25 minutes ago, we're closing in on the 46 wagon, and but they're dicing it up with P1, and they have some sort of mechanical. They come into the hot pits, and we're not sure what's going on, but they're in long enough that we pass them, and pretty soon we lap them again. And so we're like, okay, we've got second place. Unless we screw up, nobody's catching us. And we're like 20 seconds off of P1 now. And so at this point, P1 has slowed down a good bit. We're running almost 8 seconds a lap faster. So we're like, okay, we're gonna catch these guys in like 4 or 5 laps. But there's only, you know, at this point, 15 minutes or so to go in the race. So it's gonna be really close. And they're not just going to let us by. So we're pretty excited because it's going to be a fun ending. Even if we get second place, we're going to be dicing it up, and it's going to be a real race for the finish. And so, you know, we let Greg know what's going on, and, you know, just give it maximum push, but keep the car together. Don't take any unnecessary risks. And so we're going 10 minutes to go. We see the 103 car roll to a stop in turn 3, and full course caution, and it appears they've scattered their motor. So, you know, that same lap we pass them, we get into P1, which is awesome. It's cool to get first place 2 days in a row. Unfortunately, you know, we secured a podium. It wasn't how we wanted to get first place by having mechanicals on both those other cars, but it's just part of racing, especially endurance racing. We've given up so many victories by beating ourselves, by breaking the car, or just not prepping something as well as we could have. Whether it's cooling, you know, not having a good enough cooling system package and pushing the car, and then finding, okay, we're running 230-degree coolant temps. So there's all these. It's a complex sport. There's a lot of ways you can lose a race, and so it wasn't how we wanted to win. We were pretty excited about to duke it out for first place with the 103 car, but that's how it shook out. So we got P1 both days. So that was awesome. That was the first time we've actually won a class outright. We've gotten on the podium a bunch this year, but we've always been in striking distance, but just couldn't quite put it together to get the victories. So 2 in a row at our home track was super fun. Brenda, the track manager, came out and did photographs with us when we got our awards. And we actually left one of our trophies, first place trophies, at the track for them to display. So all in all, really good weekend. Basically, other than me scratching up the splitter a bit and getting the car really dirty, the car didn't take any damage. Thermals, pulling temps and all the data from the AIM data system. Diff temps were awesome, and coolant temp, oil temp, all that stuff was really good. So really pleased with the cooling system package, and just everybody did a good job driving. I mean, I was the only one who had any real incidents in the car. And so I guess I need to cool it off a bit. So it's just tough when you get in that, you're like, oh, I'm going to put us back in first place. So when I give the car back to the guys, I've done my part and they can have an easy drive. And turns out I just made it worse. So lesson learned. But super fun racing with everybody. It was great to see finally racing. It was cool to race with the 103 guys and see them being competitive all weekend. So kudos to them. Hopefully they can get their motor fixed and back out there for the Ridge race. The E46 wide body, it was awesome to see that there. And the E46 wagon, super cool. Just a lot of competitive cars, and you just never know what's going to happen in a race, but it was fun driving with everybody. And we'll see everybody at the Ridge in a few weeks.